Hi and welcome to another tutorial on Anime Studio Pro. In this tutorial we'll be talking about how to rig a character and how to bind it to bones as well. So right now I'm just trying to add in some extra touches to the legs that we left off in the last tutorial. We are going to draw the the lower portion of the leg, mostly the lower leg and the feet area. I guess up till now, what we've covered is quite significant for you guys to understand how to draw characters and draw vector shapes in Anime Studio Pro. So I don't think we need to discuss that thing any further. And let's just go on and start with the drawing of the legs using the guides that are already been drawn in Photoshop. Create a new layer and name it as the right leg. And we've switched off the background layer and checked to see if our character looks exactly the same as the reference image that we were using for it. And I have not drawn the head or the facial features of this character because we'll be adding those character features in later on assignments and later on videos, and I'll show you how to bind switch layers to Anime Studio Pro. And hopefully if you want to make a separate facial rig of bones that can control your master bones for the eyes and other parts of your head, so that you can have some ease of use while animation and animating your characters turning to a right angle or to the left side. Right now, so let me explain a few points. Before you actually rig your characters, you have to check that all your characters are drawn in separate layers. Like you have the upper torso for a coat in a coat layer, right hand, right arms, all in different layers, and then you draw a bone layer. Bone layer has a different logo. It looks like a dog bone right before the text. Then you click, select and drag all your layers that are in your rig, that constitute your rig, that make up your rig, or whatever you might want to call it, and you put them inside your bone layer. Now bone layers are normally bone layers, switch layers and group layers are collapsible. So if it's successful and you've done it properly, you might see them being collapsed, and you can just click on the arrow left side of the bone icon, and it can be like doable. So to add bones, you need to first separate your individual layers. You can just select and move using your G key and your transform key. G and T is shortcut for those two keys, and move all your character objects that you've drawn in different layers. Right now I just deleted the leg layer, so I might draw those lower legs and the shoes in a later on tutorial. So let's just start with what we have up till now. So I'm moving the torso or the coat layer to away from the area, and I'm going to select and move the hands to either side. And I've made two layers. One is for the left hand and one is for the right hand. And I'm going to individually move all these layer elements or vector drawings that I've drawn in each layer to a specific distance, so that they're almost away from each other, sort of like splitting up a jigsaw puzzle. And you can easily just combine this jigsaw puzzle once again and bring it back together. And I think it takes more like 20-30 minutes to do this step, taking it away and then bringing it back together again. And I'm doing quite a bit of clean splitting up, like the arms are split up to one side, the hands are split up to the other side, and while rigging it looks like a clean thing to do, because if you have something like a very complex rig, and if you're not careful in splitting up your rig properly, you might not be able to make the bones in a efficient manner. And right now we are more concerned with efficiency, because I guess 50 years or 20 years ago, people used to make all these drawings hand drawn, and used to make if you made an animation for a minute, you would need to make something like 1440. Sorry, my math's a bit rusty. 1440 drawings. Okay, so right now I'm drawing the master layer or the torso layer, and I'm going to name it as master bone, master control bone, or master control rig. Press enter, and now it's saved. I'm using the add bone tool. The shortcut for adding or creating bones is A. Just like you can create vector lines using the A tool, the same shortcut applies when you're in the bone layer. And all the other tools like draw, shape, and other things that are that use the same shortcuts are disabled, so that you do not mistakenly start drawing on your bone layer. It's relatively quite easy to do that, and I guess they made this shortcut quite easy to understand. So this is the select bone tool. Now I'm going to select this bone and see if it is in fact the master control rig. So you can see on top of the bone name, it saved the name as master control rig. So now I'm going to go ahead and start drawing the second bone, and I'm going to go opposite to the first bone. And this is the chest bone. You can have multiple chest pieces, like if you want to have some kind of flexibility in your hip region or your chest region, and if you even want to have something like a shoulder flap, or you want to lower down your shoulders or move your shoulders upwards, you can have some additional bones just to move around your shoulder. I'm trying to use the transform key to move this particular bone so that it aligns straight up to its previous predecessor bone, or its parent bone. And I'll come to the fact what is a parent bone and what is a child bone very quickly, just as soon as I see that their movements are properly fixed and they're working fine. You can use the transform key to move your bones any way you want. And this is the parenting tool. It tells you how your parenting is done. The arrow's direction shows the parent, and the bone that is opposing to the arrow is the child. So the parent affects the child. If you move the parent bone, the child bone will also be moved. If you rotate the parent bone, the child bone will also be rotated. The arrow points towards the parent bone. So I'm checking to see if the bones are moving, and notice that the torso does not move at right now. Well, I guess in a short while we'll fix this problem and you'll be able to see that it's moving. So I'm just locking it and seeing if you can add some constraint right now to the master control bone, and I don't see that's quite necessary right now. I'm just going to unlock this bone, and I've unlocked it. I don't want to add some constraint right now to the master control bone. I'm closing it. Going back to our rig, I'm going to add a few more bones to the shoulder region. 1 for the upper arm and 2 for the lower arm. So 2 bones in the one side of the shoulder and 2 more bones on the right side. And as you can see, my timeline has moved forward, so I'm going to go to frame 0. All rigging has to be done at frame 0. This is a very important thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of this tutorial. All rigging must be done at frame 0. If you start doing it at frame 1 or any other frame other than 0, your rigging will go overboard, or your rigging will not be properly performed, and then your character will start to work in a very kooky, strange manner. Okay, so now I'm seeing that the parenting is done slightly off. So I'm taking the top right shoulder of the bone and I'm unparenting it to the bottom left arm, and I am parenting it to the neck bone. And now I'm making those collar bones. Collar bones or shoulder bones are bones basically that help you to lower your shoulders and move your shoulders up or down, and they help in moving your shoulders not only up and down, but they also have a very key factor of giving form to your chest. So shoulder bones are very important, and trying to see if they are linked properly or parented properly, and I guess they are parented properly. They look fine. If you want to make a child bone parent to another bone, you just click on that bone and then select the bone that you want to make it a child of. So I've selected the upper shoulder bones and I've parented them to each side's collar bones respectively. Now I'm going down and I'm going to start drawing the hand bones, one for the wrist, one small bone for moving or some slight jiggle in your wrist. We can come back and make the wrist, but it's better that you make a wrist bone. But I guess if you don't want to make it, it's up to you. I prefer to make a wrist bone because you must have some kind of flexibility in your wrists. So now I'm drawing another wrist bone and another bone to move your hands. Most people also prefer to have movements in their fingers, but let's not be too picky. I'm just trying to now check the parenting situation, and the hands are not properly parented, so I'm going to parent them properly. This is a parent of the wrist bone. I guess that's right, but there's one joint that is not fixed. I'm going to select this parent bone, child bone, and I'm going to unparent it to the other side of the hand, and I'm going to parent it to the arm. And as soon as I click, the arrow is formed, arrow appears. I'm going to select this bone, I'm going to parent it to the bone, and it's not parenting. What's wrong? Oh, I think I've not selected the proper bone. Yep, I think I'll have to select this bone first and then select this bone. Okay, so up till now the hierarchy looks okay. The parent-child hierarchy looks okay. So now I'm going to make the hip bones and the torso bones. Normally you have in my timeline again gets moved and I go to frame 0 again, undo a few steps and redraw this bone. Draw this bone. Normally people also prefer to have some kind of hip movement, and they prefer to make some pelvis bones, right pelvis, left pelvis. But right now I'm not that picky. I just want to make some bones that can control the movement of the legs, and it's okay if I just make one bone right now and I'll just add in the lower leg bones later on. I mean, her skirt just gets spread up a little bit from the sides, so that will be controlled by the hip bones. So I'll make them bit lower than they actually are, and these bones will probably control the not only the movement of the knees, but also give a little bit of a flow to the clothing or the cloth. And now I'm making the lower portion. I'm trying to fix the hierarchy. Hierarchy looks a bit off. Select this bone and select the hierarchy upwards. Okay, so select this bone and select the upper bone or the upper torso bone, you can say. And I didn't select the torso bone. Select the torso bone and parent this to the master control bone. Okay, so I guess our hierarchy rigging etc. it's almost complete. Now we need to add some extra bones so that we can have movement of the hair and the head, or the upper portion of the head of the hair. So we are going to draw one bone. That's going to be the head, and we are going to draw few more bones coming from one side, making this ringlet of a thing. And these bones actually control the movement of the hair for our character Pinky. And I've seen quite a lot of characters named Pinky online, so maybe I might change her name to something more generic, something that is similar to our country's culture. By the way, I might want to mention that I'm from Pakistan, so I might name her like Razia or Sultana or something related to my culture and my norms or my social upbringing. But maybe not. Maybe I might name her something like Oksana or something, even European. Like, what's a good European name? Thinking about some good European name. Anyway, you can, whoever sees this tutorial, give me a response on what name other than Pinky, I can come up for her, and I'll gladly give you a shout out back, thanking you and also using your advice if I like the name. Okay, so now I'm trying to fix the bone strength. Bone strength actually controls the amount of movement that a particular bone has. So if you can see, I moved or tried to move using the bone tool, move bone tool, and now the arms after the one more thing, I'm turning the bone strength of the master control bone to 0. It doesn't need to be applying any kind of movement, or it just is useful for moving your character rig as a whole. So it doesn't have to have any kind of relevant strength. I'm trying to now fix the bone strength of each bone so that if I move a particular bone, the corresponding bones do not get disturbed that are on either side of the body or the rig. So one bone per area. No other bone should affect any other region of the vector shape. So I guess it looks okay. Moving on. I think these you had a pause a while back also, and another pause like this, that the computer screen actually got froze. So I can't do anything about that because this was done on a very low grade PC, and the video and the software gets slightly slow. Normally when I do these kind of things, it's when I'm drawing or when I'm rigging a character, it takes me not less than 15 minutes, and as you look at the clock, it's just been like more than 40 minutes since I've been started doing this tutorial video. So now I'm again trying to fix the envelopes, or you can say with the bone strength. I'm kind of very generalized in my animation thing. So in some animation softwares you use envelopes for the same terminology. So most software platforms, animation software platforms, have these terminologies quite mixed up. So I guess in Maya or in 3D Max you have envelopes, and envelopes are basically areas which are affectable or can be affected by your movements, bone movements. And 3D softwares, bone tools are quite tricky. I mean, and the envelopes and all those things are quite tricky. And furthermore, you can't add many other distinguishing features to a character after you've modeled it. While in Anime Pro, and I'm pretty much sure in other 2D softwares as well, you have the flexibility that you can add prominent features or even change the character model during development quite easily. I mean, there are no errors or bugs that you have to manually fix, or the software hangs up or something like that. So now I'm going to offset this, and again I'm doing all of this in frame 0. So I'm just going to turn on my character rig so that when I'm offsetting my character, it barely resembles my original rig. So I'm now moving my master control rig, and I'm going to zoom in and see if it is properly lining up, and it's properly lining up. Then I'm moving my arms, and if there is some 1 or 2 percent difference, that's pretty much debatable or negligible. I mean, you don't really have to do it 100% as it is. You can just come to like 98% close enough, but it should not be like something like 50% close enough. I mean, that's being sloppy, I guess, or as if you really don't want to do this, and you're doing it for someone else, or you're doing it just because you're bored, or you're doing it just because your professor or your teacher asks you to do it, and you're not actually into animation or into making cartoons or into making things out of your imagination. So I would suggest that if you're doing it just for passing an exam or getting a good job, don't do it. If you really want to learn how to animate a character, or if you really want to make something from your imagination come into reality, then you should go for animation. Otherwise, it's just wasting your time and money on these expensive softwares and such. So the rigging and the offsetting looks fine, and the torso is properly aligned, the arms look properly aligned, the hands look properly aligned, and I'm just zooming in, zooming out, checking to see if it is A-OK or aligned properly. and I guess it's pretty well aligned. Okay, so now I'm going to come down and move the torso up, and zooming in to see if it fits just snugly into our rig, and I guess that's close enough. But okay, we left one hand, so don't need to render it right now. And I guess I'd rendered it and I saw that the hand was out, so I'm going to move the hand to its proper position, the left hand. And I guess this is your rigging part of it. Now you can just spend a few more minutes, and oh, what happened there? When I moved the hand, it kind of got deformed or something. Oh, I was moving not the parent bone, the first bone, so it got deformed. If you have more than one bone and you have to offset them, make sure that you select the least furthest bone, or the very first bone that you drew on that layer, so that it doesn't disturb your character rig. And now I'm just fine-tuning the strength bone strength of each individual bone, so that when I use the manipulate bone tool, it acts like a proper rig. So now there are a few tweaks. I mean, I can add some constraints so that the hand does not move out of the coat's length, but it's pretty well fixable, and even right now it can be fixed quite nicely. I can increase the bone strength so that it doesn't move out of the hand. Now I'm going to manipulate this, and yep, it doesn't move out. So now it's moving inside the cuffs of the coat, and you can do a lot of stuff just fixing a few strangling tweaks that are left, checking to see there is nothing wrong. And I think the computer froze. Computer is freezing again. Screen is freezing because it's letting me work very slowly. This is quite frustrating. I mean, you start thinking that, oh, I've got something to share on YouTube, and you make these movies, and then your laptop gets stuck, or your laptop screen gets stuck, and you're saying, I just wasted like 40 minutes on a video, and I don't have anything to show for it. Okay, so I'm moving the bones and the first layer to see if you can have some kind of a flow from your legs. And I moved it in the first frame, moved it on the timeline on the first frame, so that I can see if it is causing any problems, and it doesn't seem to be causing any problems. I can even change my bone strength later on to whatever I want, and I can add in more bones in my rig just by adding, I guess, new bones. I mean, if you want to add new bones in 3D softwares, it's pretty much quite difficult, and you have to reset the envelopes, reset the rig, and do it from scratch all over again, the rigging and the binding stuff. So I still prefer to enjoy using Anime Studio Pro, because it's got so much flexibility. And I know a lot of people are saying that, oh, this is very tough, this is a hard software. Well, I say to those people, a year ago, or probably not a year ago, I think 2 years ago, I was making flash animations by drawing each frame by hand using a tablet. And it used to take me like 12 days to a month, whole month, to make 1 minute and a whole minute or a whole 1.5 minute animation. So if you guys are more comfortable working with that, be my guest. And if you're really comfortable in working in Anime Studio Pro and just making a few animations in a week's time, or in 5 days, or even I've made animations in 2 to 3 days. So I guess that's why I like Anime Studio Pro, because it's fast, it's quick, it's efficient, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And right now in these times, the more quicker you are, the more well paid you are. If you take like a year or so to finish a project, you're not pretty well much gonna get paid, or no one's gonna hire you. But if you deliver in a week or 5 or 6 days, everyone is going to line up and start paying you huge sums of money, because they want their logo, company logo or company mascot to be animated. And I've gotten quite a lot of offers from a lot of people. People just coming out of this onto the streets asking me. So I guess that's it. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon. Bye. To see you soon. Bye. To see you soon. Bye. To see you soon.